Well, when Mayor Erin Stewart took office 3 years ago, New Britain was in a different place. Elected in her first term, November 5th, 2013, at the age of 26. Second term, November 3rd, 2015. Currently, the youngest serving female mayor in the U.S. for a city the size of New Britain. We welcome to the program the CEO of New Britain, Mayor Erin Stewart. Mayor, welcome to the program at The Beat.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening.
Oh, Mayor, listen, once again, as we talked about, New Britain was in a different place. Let's go back 3 years ago. You reduced the public health, again, from a deficit to a surplus. Can you explain? 3 years, a different place.
Oh, 3 years. New Britain is a very different place today than it was 3 years ago. It's difficult because a lot of people don't see the behind-the-scenes issues, right? So when I first took office, we were facing a $30 million operating deficit. That's no easy feat to overcome, right? So we had to get in here, and mind you, I was 26 years old at the time. I had to bust open the city's books. I brought in some of the most incredibly talented and trained municipal finance professionals around to help me do that. We ended up, now 3 years later, that $30 million deficit is now a $15 million surplus. So I'd say we did everything right.
and also with cooperation, you got it done with all open communication.
Oh, that was the most important piece. It's extremely difficult to be successful in making substantial change in government if you're not open and allowing everybody to have a seat at the table when those decisions are being made. One of the first things that I did was I sent a memo out to all of our employees in City Hall saying, hey, guys, we're in this situation. It's no fault of yours. It's just years of mismanagement, lots of spending issues that have happened, and all the meanwhile, you've been coming to work every day and doing your job, and that's great, but we have to talk about how I can help you keep your job in the future with the limited resources that we have. So I ended up bringing all of the union presidents to the table, too, and I asked everybody for their suggestions. Where could we save money?
Yeah.
The response I got was overwhelming. Everybody came forward. They wanted to give some type of option. Here's where I think, we could save a few dollars here, a few dollars there. It was really great to see everybody come together like that.
And the big thing is lowering healthcare costs with the HSAs. How was that response?
Oh, that was, change is difficult, right? Change is very hard. And one of the things that we knew, what are your two biggest costs in government, right? If it's not salaries, it's health care and it's pensions. So we looked at the health care option. And, your basic plans, your PPO plans, are just too expensive to maintain. We know that health savings accounts and high-deductible health plans work. We were able to save money in the city budget, but also protect the health of our employees, too, and the access to care that they need and that they deserve to have. So since I took office 3 years ago, we've renegotiated every union contract, and every union contract has achieved savings for us. So when you total it all together, we're going to be saving, with just HSAs, almost $6 million over the course of the next 3 years.
Wow, very good. Yeah,
healthcare savings.
Big savings, and even though you have the fiscal year in the black, but the outstanding debt projected, you're talking about more than $25 million in bonds. Am I correct, Mayor?
It's much more than that.
Really?
It's difficult. Your debt projections are a killer for municipalities, and they're a killer for cities all over the state. So New Britain is not, new in this, but you have to maintain. What do people expect from a city?
Sure.
They expect roads that are paved, right?
Yeah.
They expect you to keep them safe. You got to pay for those police vehicles to be running 24 hours a day. You can't stop government. So you have to continue to buy these things and make investments that cost money. Within 2 years, it was during, I want to say 2012 and 2013, the city had spent almost $70 million in bonds. That means they're putting it on the credit card. And all of those payments are coming due. They're coming due in the next couple of years. So next year, we're looking at an increase in just debt service payments over $25 million for just next year. The year after that, it goes up over 30. So we're looking at making serious changes to how we are paying down our debt, how we issue debt, and looking at refinancing as much as possible to be able to make the payments. Because the unfortunate reality is you can't keep raising taxes on people to pay for it. But you have to maintain the level of service that they expect to be provided to them.
Well, again, those hard decisions to make. With me on the line, New Britain Mayor Erin Stewart. And with that, talking about New Britain, is it yesterday, New Britain unveiling It's the Place to Be with a new unveiling of a new marketing tagline.
Yes. So our slogan from many, many years ago in the early 1980s was New Britain is the place to be, right?
Yeah.
Well, finally, almost 35 years later, we've worked on a new marketing initiative where we are now asking people to come and experience the new in New Britain. And so yesterday we had a great event at our New Britain Museum of American Art, one of the many places I would encourage listeners to come visit. And we had all of our community providers and stakeholders and citizens there to look for our unveiling of our new logo, which will be used on our brand new city website, newbritainct.gov. And it'll be used to help promote tourism and lots of visitors to the city. New Britain's a very different place than I think what people outside of our city limits have a perception of it being. And we certainly want to work on changing that, and we want to bring more people in to visit.
As you mentioned 3 years ago, Mayor, too, since you took office, the amount of businesses that located in New Britain.
Oh, yes. In 3 years alone, we've added over 65 new businesses to town, and we've brought in over 800 new jobs to our workforce. And in a community that is very desperate for jobs, 800 jobs means a lot to the people who live here. We're seeing an economic turnaround in the city. People are wanting to invest here. We're seeing small mom and pop shops open up all over the place, but not only that, we're also seeing good, high-paying manufacturing jobs that are opening up as well. And that's places like Polymer Precision just added over 100 high-tech manufacturing jobs to their workforce. They do aerospace engineering parts. We've got our John Downey Drive, which is our industrial park that's almost filled, 90% filled. So we're certainly adding a lot of value to the opportunities that we have in town.
Redesigning and change, and also vision. You're redesigning, of course, the Main Street Bridge over 72. I know that's one of the keys.
Oh, yes. The Beehive Bridge. You see the theme? The bees here. This is the theme. I have to tell you a story really quick, though, because everyone always asks, right?
Yes.
We have to tell everyone where the bees come from, right, and where the Beehive theme comes from. It doesn't come from the baseball team. On New Britain's city seal, there is a beehive, and underneath it, there is a slogan in Latin, and translate that, it says, "Industry fills the hive and enjoys the honey." That Latin slogan and that beehive has been on our city seal since 1871 when we were incorporated as a city, and it represents our rich industrial past. There's 7 bees that are flying around the beehive on the city slogan. Each one of those bees represents an original industry in the city, whether it was Stanley Works or Corbin Russwin. So that's where the bee theme comes from. So we do have the Beehive Bridge as part of our redevelopment plans for our downtown streetscape project, and that work will start this spring.
Oh, perfect. And thank you for keeping us posted. And as we mentioned, with me on the line, New Britain Mayor Erin Stewart, earlier kicking off the bid for the third term.
Yes. I just had my big announcement last week. I was joined by just about 300 of my closest friends at an event last week at the Greek Hall in New Britain, and it was wonderful. It's great to be surrounded by so many friends and family to officially announce that I'll be running for re-election as mayor again, so this November.
Well, I know you're very humble because, think about this. When you took office 3 years ago, what the comments were like, the way the landscape was. But now let's flash forward 3 years ago, being named one of the 40 under 40 by Connecticut Magazine, Person of the Year by the New Britain Journal, then the New York Times Newsmax. This is pretty impressive. Named top of the 30 most influential Republicans under 30 list. That's a great accomplishment, Mayor.
Thank you. We've come a long way. I've also pushed myself in that time frame too. I've done a lot of things that I didn't think were possible for me to do. So I've grown a lot, professionally, personally. I'm getting old this year.
No.
I can't qualify for the 30 under 30 list next year. I'm going to be 30 in May. So.
Oh, you're very young, Mayor. Still very young. And I want to just say, as a role model too. Yeah. And what comes across, Mayor, is that no matter who you are, you can be anything you want.
Absolutely. And being mayor of a city like New Britain, that rings so close to home to so many kids and students that we have in our school district. I didn't come from much. My father was a firefighter. My mom didn't work. We didn't have a lot. And much like many of the other students and children that we have growing up in our community who don't have a lot, your dreams are sometimes the only thing that you have, but they're not impossible. I never thought that I would be in this position. Where life took me is somebody's decision that was much larger than my own, but I'm certainly grateful for it. I thank God every day for the opportunity to do what I do. I love very much what I do. Every day I have the opportunity to make somebody's life better and change things in the city of New Britain, and I take that very seriously.
Well, listen, Mayor, our final few seconds, and I think we had this conversation before we had our conversation on the air. Many of us, it's all about working together, regardless of your political affiliation.
Yep, absolutely. It's all about working together. Sometimes the party doesn't matter when you're doing what's best for the citizens of your community, and sometimes politics can get in the way of a lot of good accomplishments. So we try to remove that as much as possible.
Well, listen, Mayor, and the last few questions, I would be remiss. It's the elephant that we're going to have to address. If you pay attention to social media, and you probably know where I'm going to go with this.
I certainly do.
Okay, well, it's not the Super Bowl prediction, but it's the question is higher office. And you know what? Because here's where I take it, that I think even the residents of New Britain would be like seeing their CEO become the CEO and president. We're talking about governor.
Yes, I've heard that quite a bit in the last couple of months, and it's so flattering. It is very, very flattering. But, it's incredible to go from 3 years ago where people were talking about me as the kid who couldn't do anything to all of a sudden people recommending me for Connecticut's top office. And that is very humbling. I'm honored. I do have to win my election here in New Britain first. So my commitment is definitely to the city of New Britain, but I can't rule anything out. I talked about those kids in our school district that don't have much and they have big dreams. Well, we always tell our kids to dream big, right? And we're never going to hold that against them. And I'm certainly going to keep dreaming big. If that happens for me someday, that would be fantastic. But again, I don't know what's in the cards. And, a good friend of mine said to me, and I'll never forget it, he always says, politics is an interesting thing because you don't get to pick your time picks you. So we'll see how that goes over the next couple of months, that's for sure.
Well, again, you know what? People love you, Mayor. Listen, we thank you for the time. New Britain Mayor Erin Stewart showing us how to get it done by working together to get it done. New Britain Mayor Erin Stewart, thank you for your time, and we'll look forward to our next chat conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care.